We completely dominated the Kings in our first game back in the playoffs, and Jalen Green didn't even have himself a crazy game. It was DeJounte and Christian who led us to our Game 1 upset, and we're hoping we can do the same thing in Game 2. Unfortunately, that doesn't end up being the case. We have a killer first quarter, but our offense falls apart in the second, and our defense does in the third. So they returned the favor from Game 1, blowing us out by 14 in Game 2. Jalen and KPJ scored a little over 20 each on some decent efficiency. DeJounte and Christian were really solid. We just have to come back to Houston and try to do better than we did in Game 2. One thing of note is that Daniel Tice is back, and he's probably going to take all of Garuba's minutes. He'll provide more for us on offense despite being a worse perimeter defender, and he's also just way more experienced. We'll just have to see how it goes. He will be coming off the bench though. I think Jovic has earned his starting spot thus far. We're bringing playoff basketball back to Houston for the first time in 2 years tonight, and we managed to take home court advantage from Sacramento. So we've got to play well tonight and keep that rolling. And we started off pretty well on offense. We got Christian involved early, and then Jalen really started to get on a roll. He hit a three and got some free throws, and it looked like we were going to have a great opening quarter from Jalen. Our defense didn't look so hot. We were giving up a lot of looks, and we just had some careless turnovers. I mean, it only led to 5 points, but it did lead to some frustration from Jalen. He was among the bigs trying to get rebounds, and that quickly led to him having 2 really quick fouls. So what looked like was going to be a really good opening quarter from him was cut short because of cheap fouls. After that, it didn't really get a whole lot better. We had a lot of lapses in defensive coverage for the next several minutes, whether it was going under a screen and getting burned on a cutback, or if it was just being in poor position to guard a drive. We fouled guys, we allowed guys to score. It was honestly really about as bad as we could play. I mean, we still put points on the board, don't get me wrong, but the defense was absolutely not going to do good things for us. Especially once we started turning the ball over and when the bench unit stopped making shots. Luckily, we got Jalen back in the second quarter, but it's also pretty unfortunate because he could not guard Tyrese Halliburton at all. By the time we hit the 7-minute mark, Halliburton hit a 3, and then hit a mid-range pull-up on the dropping Christian Wood, and then he hit another 3. Hindsight 2020, but I should have taken Jalen off of him and put DeJounte as his primary defender. He absolutely torched us in the second quarter. And we just had so many dumb turnovers, passes that shouldn't have been thrown, and they just kept leading to fast break points for the Kings. That's how Tyrese Halliburton got most of his threes. It's not like they had a huge total for fast break points at the end of the game, but they definitely got quite a few on us this quarter. I say this as if we're getting blown out. The only reason we weren't was because pretty much everyone else on the Kings offense was not getting anything done. Fox would consistently get into the paint, but he always resulted to pull-up jumpers instead of just going to the basket to at least try to draw fouls or finish over somebody. So we were very thankful for that. But despite all this talk about constant turnovers and bad defense, we do end up only down 7 at the end of the quarter, but we only scored 39 points at the same time. We had a lot of possessions taken away from us because of the turnovers, and the bench had been horrible through the quarter. KPJ missed shot after shot, and Şengün got stripped, I want to say twice, by Davion Mitchell. He was their best post defender, which is really saying something. But the first half of the third quarter was really about Jovic. He was a huge part of keeping us in this game. Whether he was rolling to the rim, stealing passes, or posting up on guys, he was instrumental in keeping this game from getting away from us. Unfortunately for us, the starters can't play every minute of every game. The bench unit has to come in sometimes, and normally, that's not a bad thing. KPJ and Şengün are pretty good, but not this game. Turnovers, missed layups by both Tice and Şengün. It was just a mess. The offense ground to a halt, and the defense wasn't really any better. So we end up down 13 at the end of the quarter. The fourth actually goes worse than this. We can't get any offense going. We're turning the ball over like 4 times in a minute. So I decide not to play anymore, and we sim to the end. We lose 92-90, and the team comparison doesn't paint a pretty picture. The percentages for us are fine. From the field, they could have been better. From 3, it was okay. but we had 15 turnovers, and the Kings had 17 points off of those. They also had more than double our bench points. We only had 13, they had around 31. The starters were holding on all game. It was just the bench that didn't have it in this one. When you have to rely on bench players to win playoff games, it's not very often that you will come out with the W. But we're going to head back to Houston next game, and we are going to play much better. We only lost by 2 points, and we did not play well. We turned the ball over, and we just did not play disciplined defense. I know that we're not going to do that next time. We're better than this as a team, and Jalen should be able to play the whole first quarter next time. Knock on wood. But we will be taking this series back to Sacramento tied. We will not settle for anything else.